Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here with me,
Thank you.
chatting.
Yeah.
Welcome to Everyday Alice's.
Good morning. What are we talking
We're talking about self-love before finding your circle, your partner, being the version of you that you love before other people can love you.
about? I like that topic because um it's never done, right? You have to work on yourself every day, and you can slip on things that you took for granted that you worked on in the past, like communicating to people, being good at staying in contact with people, showing interest in others. All those things take effort every day. So you could build relationships over time, and then if your attention on those topics dwindle, then um, who you are to that person dwindles, and vice versa. And it could be read 1,000 ways, but I like that topic because one, it's so critical. One of my things in my journal I read every morning is a topic called Be Do Have, where I pick things like 7 things that I want to be, um, and then I do a quick sentence on what I need to be doing to be that person. Because you have to, I think, already be something before you'll have the life of that something. Like one of them is, like the number one is be a good husband. So I forget what I say, but it's like 2 or 3 points. Like make sure you're doing this every day. That'll steer me in the right direction.
That's perfect intro. Like, I think of, the past 14 years of us being together, we've been different versions over that time, and different circles of friends have shown up in our lives because we were different versions of ourselves. So we needed different friends at different times. And, when you showed up in my life, I really remember that version of myself was working on healing and making different choices. And that version of me at 20 looks very different version of me at 30, almost 35, healing. And at that point, I was like not looking for a boyfriend. I was still very intent on healing myself and being a different version of me. And then when you came into my life, it was a very big surprise. And then I think of our time in Sacramento and that journey of healing and finding myself and finding community when we didn't know anyone when we moved there. Family was hours away from us. And my first thought is like my spiritual journey, how that really started to get honed in while living there and learning to heal and love myself through a different lens spiritually. And particular at that point, I think of 2 influential leaders in my life, which were Gabby Bernstein and Danica Brescia. And interestingly, I think of Gabby and how we went to a live event together in San Francisco. And I think that like really cracked open a huge shift for me in healing and loving myself in a different way. And different friends then came into my life around that time, who were more spiritually aligned. And it just really shifted, like, I feel like my whole being of this version of me. And um side note that Gabby has another live event in like 2 weeks, and I'm trying to figure out how to go get
Yeah.
someone to watch the kids. So
If anyone listening to this podcast wants to give away a free child,
I have someone lined up, and I'm very grateful. My cousin is most likely going to do it. It's a matter of courage now and me doing it with the kids and all that fun stuff.
That's another thing that I think is huge is if you haven't gone to like a seminar or a speaking or talk or whatever they call it, or
in
live form
person
of something you're somewhat interested in, that's kind of healthy, like whether it's business related or or eating healthy related or exercise related or spiritual related, like do it. Just do it, because if you're pretty much telling the world, the universe, God, whatever you want to say, that you're willing to invest something in that, and it'll like be like, oh, just like if like, let's say you're a really good woodworker, you're an old man, you're a really good worker, right? And then a young child comes next to you and shows a little bit of interest in working with wood. It's like, oh, that old man's gonna be like, let me teach you everything, right? Oh my God, hold on, you hold it like this. Do you like that? You know, that's how I feel the world is. Like the second you show a little bit of effort and interest and go out and stick your neck out there a little bit, the world will pour all these things to you. Like, oh, you're interested? You're actually gonna do something? Oh, here's everything. So it's like you just got to take a first step sometimes. And so if you haven't done that, which we didn't do that until we were 25, maybe older, and even then we should be doing it a lot more. It's built into our future budget. It's not into our current budget, but it's built into our future budget.
Which is also another reminder to me of, again, seasons of life and versions, and the people that are drawn to you when, you know, your different versions of yourself. Is I was super involved in a network marketing company for a short period of time, and we still love the company. We use their products. And because of that, I was exposed to these incredible thought leaders. And I got to see Mel Robbins speak live, Rachel Hollis speak live, John O'Leary speak live. Mm-hmm. And those are really influential people, again, in different seasons of my life, that helped me wake up, have different habits, do things differently in my life, listen to their podcasts now, years later, and they have set foundations for me and our way of doing things in life that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have that season that I was really heavily exposed to that piece of something that was a huge, you know, puzzle piece in the bigger picture. And so, just, you know, I went through a period of time where I was like very angry and I didn't understand. I felt like I was working so hard to create this version of me that I loved, and was healing and taking the steps and waking up at 4 a.m., personal training, reading the books, listening to the audio, fueling my body well with nutrition, going to therapy, acupuncture, chiropractor. And even though I was thought that I was like checking all these boxes, I was still really miserable. And I was married. I had some community. We had an abundance of things in so many ways in our life. We were financially stable, but I don't think truly that I was in alignment with myself. And I think that's why I wasn't able to find community, because I truly just still wasn't there yet. And so the friends that were in my life were still very important, and they still are very important, but I just still had more to go. So I wasn't going to receive that next group of community because I wasn't there yet.
I think one of the hardest parts about that is just that we don't even know most of the time where that spot is we need to work on. We'll spend most of our life blind to it, in denial that we have an issue. And we just won't know the answer of why things in our life are kind of off. But then working on it takes effort and time. And whether it's therapy, or you buy books on your own and work on your own, or it's confrontation with relationships that are poisonous for you, that's a big one. There's a book, what's it? Boundaries, right? Isn't that the book? Boundaries. That's a good book.
Boundaries, the one by Cloud and Townsend. There's a couple of books on boundaries.
But the whole point of it is most of us, I guess, we might be speaking too big of a picture, but we desire to grow in some way, or be better, or enjoy life more. How about that? We all want to enjoy as much as we can out of our life. And when you notice these little fissures in your life, or you notice these little lackings, or you notice this issue, or how about a relationship that just bothers you, but you keep going back to it, or these are all little signs for an opportunity for you to create change. And people are the best mirrors, actually. So if you're talking to someone, there's something that really annoys you about these people. It's probably not the people. It's probably you. It's something's wrong with you. So if you find yourself bitching about some specific person, stop and really reflect on that person.
Like, do you do what they do and you just see it in them? And so it bothers you, but you're like, oh my gosh, I actually do that same thing. I need to work on that.
Yeah. Or, I mean, there's a couple options. There's that one. There's what they remind me of one of my parents, and my parents used to mentally abuse me that way for decades, and now I still just find that I surround myself with those same people. That's another one. Like, I'm not a psychiatrist therapist, but you'll go through these processes and they'll become kind of ingrained with you. Like, oh well, I know the feeling of unhealthy and being bothered, and then I know how to question that feeling and go, that's the issue for me. That's my issue with that feeling. Okay, now I know how to get past that. And then once you take that next step, it's a little step towards health, then you'll see a whole new horizon or a whole new issue to deal with. And you just keep just hopping on these lily pads, issue to issue to issue to issue. And you'll find that eventually you're surrounded by healthier people doing healthier things. And your life will just seem lighter overall. Hopefully, that's the goal. But it takes effort every day. Because I don't know if you've ever heard the whole thing with stamps. It's like when you're in childhood, you have these permanent perspectives of the world that are stamped on your brain, these lenses. I don't know if those ever really go away. So if you're not constantly working on them every day on this path and moving forward, then I think there's a possibility that you will just innately slide back to your starting point.
Yeah, if you haven't like done the work to reframe them.
And stay on top of it and be mindful. Things will creep into your mind and relationships will come back to you to test you again to see if those boundaries are still strong. It might have been a decade since you've been tested by a person like that, and it'll come out of nowhere. And if you're not still strong in that part, the world will go, oh, they forgot their lesson. They need to relearn this lesson. And you'll be tested again. So it's all about continually growing. And the beautiful part about continually growing is it goes back to a metaphor that it's so simple, but I just loved. It's from the book The Wealthy Gardener, and this man and his son are walking, or I think it's like they're older though. Like the man was like 80 and the son was like 60. And they're walking through this huge farm field, right? And the son's like overwhelmed with his life. He's like, I don't know how you did it, Dad. I don't know how you're able to keep all this thing managed. I don't know how everyone's still alive. How did you do this for so many years? And the old man like looked at his son and then looked down at the ground, and there was a little weed in the middle of this huge, vast farm. And he just reached down all decrepit and picked up this weed and put it in his pocket and just said, no, that's just like that. That's all I ever did.
One weed at a time.
One weed at a time. He just moseyed through. And I love that because it's the same concept for this, right? You're not chasing down missions. It's as they come to you, you go, oh, I need to tend to that. I need to fix that problem.
Yeah. That was a great metaphor. Always. I look forward to what it's going to be every episode. That one's going to stick with me. So to wrap it up, I think the biggest thing I just wanted to chat about for myself, for our community, is just really making sure that the reminder of like doing the work to be in alignment with the version of you that you love, so that you're, shining your brightest and your community will show up because they're reflecting that vibration you're putting off. And same thing if you already have your marriage and your partnership, like, 14 years in, John's going to pick up on the vibes I have. So if I'm really in a depressed postpartum state, it's going to look different. And that's a season, and we're going to work through it. Just keeping that in mind, like what baby steps can I do one weed at a time to show up as the most authentic, aligned version of me that I love. So everyone around me is showing up in that same way too, in the ways that I need. And our relationship is symbiotic in the ways that support both of us. So that was it for me.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining. Till next time.